Whatever he's up to, we've got to get into the space and figure out his plan. Do you really intend to stop us? No, boss said that if anyone tries to force their way in, call him immediately. Even if you're his sister, without the order from the boss, we still can't. Ouch! What are you doing, Ella? Have you forgotten about Blue's order? Under special circumstances, an informant may be regarded as a member and granted access to the base, provided they bring the tokens. Oh yeah, I do remember that. But this bunch hardly looks like informants. Oh, stop hitting me! I get the point. I'll give them a chance, okay? Provided that they bring the tokens, the most valuable of all treasures, the most precious of all knowledge, and the most cherished of all gifts. Show us these 3 tokens, and we shall grant you access. Fu Hua took out his pocket watch and checked the time. It had been 15 minutes since they split up with Grisil. Let's try reasoning with them first. If that doesn't work, we can always force our way in. Now the most cherished of all gifts. And I'm no softie like them. You're not getting past me unless it's something really special. Precious gift. But I don't have a habit of giving gifts. Speaking of gifts, isn't that orange? I mean oranges. What are you trying to say? Orange's favorite. You understand what I'm getting at, don't you, Fu Hua? You mean that thing Orange has always kept with her? What are you two talking about? Oh, Encompassing Vita blushed. So that's what you're talking about. Actually, I'm not that into candies. But then again, I suppose it would be true. Hey, what are you whispering about? Whatever it is, hand it to me. Here. What? Aren't you gonna need them? Do I look like a baby to you? This is just a handful of candies. How is this supposed to be the most cherished gift? If you don't want them, then I'll take them away. Encompassing Vita tried to pull her hand back, but before she was able to do so, Fred already snagged the candies. I guess those will do after all. Who thought the Encompassing Vita's most cherished gift is a bunch of candy? If words of this got out. Oh, alright, you already have your precious gift. Step aside. Whose side are you on? Fred walked away to enjoy the candy, grumbling to himself. The token I'm responsible for is called the most precious of all knowledge. Hand it to me and I'll let you in. Knowledge? What kind of knowledge? Like a book? No, that won't do. Blue had read virtually every book in the city. You've got to come up with something way cooler to get past me. Like first-hand info about Hesperus, videos of the Forbidden Grounds? The Forbidden Grounds? How do you know about that? How else? Blue told us. He wants some photo of that area so much. He told us himself. Then I have just the ticket. Erudite Vita calmly opened his camera, unspooled the film, and handed it to Ella. This instant film captured everything we saw around the Forbidden Grounds today. I believe it's worthy of the name, the most precious of all knowledge. Cyan, isn't that your favorite type of film? It sure is. You're willing to give it away just like that? Every roll of film means the world to me, and that's precisely the reason why it fits the criteria. The most important thing that a film roll holds is knowledge, but memories. With Orange and Fuhua by my side, I made so many timeless memories along the way. If it means that we can continue on our adventure together, one roll of film is the price I'm willing to pay. At least that's what I think. Cyan. Alright, I'll take it. Let's see, which one is my token again? Alright, the most valuable of all treasures. If you can show that to me, then I'll let you in. The most valuable treasure. I'm not familiar with the customs here. What kind of item do you consider valuable? I don't know. Something shiny? I've never really seen any treasure myself. Something shiny. Fuhua reached into her pocket. She recalled how she rummaged through the destroyed cabin at the beginning of her journey in the Ark. Apart from several gifts from old friends, all that search had turned up were some metal fragments of the broken cabin. At the time, she wasn't sure why she had felt compelled to place the fragments in her pocket. Perhaps she had wanted to keepsake before continuing with her investigation. Or had she been reminded of the meteor shard in the museum and intended to confirm if there was any connection? At any rate, this fragment was indeed part of the meteor which had played a role in creating this world. The only problem was it looked no different from an ordinary metal shard, making it a far cry from what one would traditionally consider treasure. Ah, yes, that's it. You passed. But it's only a... Trust me, they'll do just fine. Pete put the fragment in his pocket and stepped aside. You know, I don't really want to play villains. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Fred. I know you're the good guys, so I'll let you in. This way, I can be an undercover agent amongst the villains. Undercover agent. You've got a variety of roles in this little game you're playing. That's very kind of you. Thanks, Pete.
谢谢你了，皮特。
I take it this means we can access your base now. Sure, we may be villains, but we keep our word. Isn't that right, guys? Absolutely. Come on in. Aren't you coming with us? Nah, we've got to keep a lookout. We'll send you a message if boss returns. But didn't you say earlier that blue would grant access to the base if represented the tokens? Yeah, but blue also said that should any informant enter the base, we should try to keep it a secret from Moriarty. Oh, and to keep an eye on the print of hope. Is blue... Let's just head in first. So this is Moriarty's base. It doesn't look much different from the last time we were here. I think I see a few things that weren't here before. Let's give this place a once-over before Moriarty comes back. What's this? Some pieces of paper were scattered on the ground. The kids must have gotten bored and knocked a notebook off one of the tables while horsing around. The handwriting somehow seemed both foreign and familiar. It appears strange because despite their many clashes, Fuhua was still unable to discern her enemy's real handwriting, as it had been carefully masked with various forensic countermeasures. The familiar English-style font and flow, however, transported her back to that remote age. What's this? So, it is Moriarty's diary. Fuhua took some time to piece together the diary and read through it carefully. 6 hours had passed. Unlike when I first left the transparent coffin, I'm now familiar with this brand new body and able to command it. To be honest, it did come with many convenient abilities, leaving me amazed at how the changed. Nevertheless, out of my habit, I found some ink to pen my precious thoughts. A virtual body made of data. Even if it is invulnerable to sword and guns, it is still much too fragile in my eyes. The only thing that can reassure me are those immortal. Above data, written proofs. Above proofs, unfading arts. I retook the second step, and now it is the time to take the third. Where should I start? My Solian body of the past was utterly destroyed by a certain self-righteous crack detective. Yes, by her fist, at that moment. This brings me to the questions. Who preserved the me of that moment and exhibited me as a museum piece in this unknown land? What was the turn of events that freed this inanimate but thoughtful display overnight? For the latter, I have a superficial guess. The guy who added me to his collection might have lost his right to imprison me due to a hiccup such as a triple breaker. As for the answer to the former, I need more patience to go on a quest. The second day after I was awakened has come. The quotation marks are necessary because at one moment too marvelous for words, I made some astronomical discoveries. For a few seconds, I wondered how someone else who made the same discoveries would. Would they have been ecstatic over a major scientific discovery, or would they have wailed at the grim of the exile imposed on them? But it matters not. I was at peace with the discovery. If the other me who survived a fall down the waterfall was observing this place, he would have been rather bored. The body that exists in the form of data or projection has provided me with a great deal of convenience, and therefore I like to apologize for my earlier belittlement of it. I wandered through the city with great ease, familiarizing myself with its organizational structures, technological development, and cultural traditions. I still know little about its history, but that's not my problem. When an unsolvable puzzle comes into my view, the first thing I consider is whether the puzzle itself is wrong. The history of the world, in my opinion, is one such. I will put the historical puzzle aside for a moment to look at the geographical puzzle. Of course, these two often go hand in hand. After a thorough survey, there is only one area that I have yet to venture into. The people here seem to call it forbidden ground. Could the answer I'm looking for lie within it? Since there is still one cog missing from the machine, I have no reason to let it go. It was only when the infiltration plan was put into action that I realized one crucial point. The forbidden ground is not a gimmick for fooling the ignorant masses. As far as the physical results are concerned, yes, my body cannot enter the forbidden ground. At first, I thought this stemmed from the limitations of the data body, so I conducted a series of experiments. First, inorganic matters, then organisms, insects, small animals, and finally, 3 juvenile residents willing to run errands for me. The results were disappointing. By taking a cursory, exhaustive approach, I proved that the forbidden ground was indeed impregnable. No, that's not right. It cannot be described as exhaustive unless I have tried that unique option. I took a great risk and appeared before 2 city representatives. One of them was the most virtuous of character, and the other was the most sophisticated of mind. In other words, they both exposed their greatest weaknesses overtly. They finally agreed to cooperate with me moderately, but did not take my side. But no matter, I believe this issue will be solved by time. As a sign of good faith, I promised Voracious Vita to pacify the animals that I startled. With the help of Mindful Vita, we created a small toy that could generate projections to guide those animals that have fled their habitat back home. Of course, the small toy simultaneously proved that the mechanical constructs here are also unable to break into the forbidden ground. This is all too boring. I mean it. It's forcing me to do silly cute things like a real child. However, when I consider the fact that this will greatly lower those 2's guard against me and allow me to steal some useful knowledge in the process, I begin to find it worthwhile. But I must concede that when they ultimately proved to me that even city representatives weren't authorized to enter the forbidden ground either, I felt quite depressed. At this moment, I felt like I was a clown in the world. What happened this day was thrilling. I felt my body, though it has long ceased to exist, embraced by an unprecedented sensation. For this reason, I've gone out of my way to write in my diary before this long day is over. Yes, I'm certain that this day will be incredibly long. At this moment, what pains me the most is that I must write down the changes that occurred today chronologically. This is the bottom line. Otherwise, my writing will lack basic logic, which is a fault I'd never want to see in the future. 2 things happened in all. The first was that marvelous cataclysm. Of course, I knew a little about it more than the city representatives. After all, I do possess the knowledge of Honkai, and as a result, those 2 Vitas believed that I could help them find a way to end the cataclysm. They finally threw themselves at my feet. As for the second thing, it was wonderful, horrible, and truly unforgettable. When I see that face again, what was the first thought that came to my mind? Surprise. Naturally, no one would have thought I would meet a fellow country person at this distant planet. Fear, justifiably so, knowing that my predecessor, the former vessel of the spirit, was by her hand. No, there was another emotion that far surpassed them both. Yes, it was joy. A joy based on reason. For the last few days, my exploration of this new world has always been hindered by problems concerning the Forbidden Ground. By trial and error, I can almost prove that the Forbidden Ground is a space that cannot be stepped into. When I was at this impasse, however, a variable presented herself to me. She was brand new, pure, extraordinarily powerful, and I know her inside out. If I lead her to the Forbidden Ground and use her to open the tempting door for me, I will make discoveries and gains like never before. Yes, this is enough. As for the rest of my personal feelings, I can leave them aside for now. Now, to facilitate this fascinating plan, I will head over to the audience seat tailored for me and enjoy this one-sided, long-awaited reunion. What's up? Did you find anything?
怎么样，姐姐？
Quite a
有什么
lot,
发现吗
actually. First of all, we can use these writings made from Moriarty's own point of view to confirm his real identity. He might not be the same Moriarty who confronted me in Reichenbach waterfall and
最
fell
终
off
另
the
丧谷底的
cliff.
莫斯拉蒂，可能不是同一个体。
The most likely explanation is that someone made a mental and physical copy of him
在真
before
正的
his
莫里亚
death,
蒂死前，
which
有人
enabled
将他
him
的
to
意识和形
exist
体
as a
备份下来，
projection.
令他如今以数据投影的形式存在于这里。
This means that his existence is more in line with my own,
他的
the
存
only
在方式
difference being
和
that I
此
can
刻的我
enter the forbidden
在本质
area
上更为
while
接
he
近。
cannot.
只是我能进入禁闭，但他不能。
But why? The one who backed up his
为什么
consciousness
那个
into
将
the
他的意识备份
museum,
进博物馆的
the
人，
sister of the
也就是维克姆
Vitas,
的姐姐，
who is
就
she?
是什么人呢？
It's nothing. One more thing. The Moriarty we're now up against has been trying to enter the Forbidden Grounds.
这些天一直在
That's
试图
the
潜入
reason
禁闭。
why he recruited the kids and manipulate yellow
利
and
用小
blue.
黄和小蓝，也都是为了达成这个目的。
But what's his motive? What has he discovered about this world?
他最初为何
There's
一
no
定要潜入
record
禁闭，
about any of that
就发现
here.
了何种世界的真相？
Based on this diary, Moriarty isn't seeking revenge.
通过这些日记来
Instead,
看，
he has a greater agenda and is using the monster's attacks to distract us from it.
操纵怪物袭击我们，大概只是
Could
一
it
种幌
be?
子。该不会？
What are you thinking, Cyan? Erudite Vita put the other two aside and pointed at a slip of paper on the table. When you were reading the diary, I searched the room and found this.
浮华姐，刚刚在你看日记的时候，我也在房间里搜索了一番，然后就发现了这个。
Is that a map?
这是地图吗？
Is that the print of hope that Blue warned us about?
难道是蓝特意嘱咐的承载愿望的图纸？
The paper sign found contained symbols indicating various architectural structures. The overall layout bore a clear resemblance to Qiming's neighborhoods. Someone had marked out several regions with blue circles. These areas,
这些区
if my memory serves me correctly, this should be a route map
这
we
应该是
used
我
for
们之前举办
celebration
庆典时
once.
使用过的路线图。
Oh, you're right. How did you remember the stop sign? You're incredible.
小光，这你都能记得住啊？
It's nothing really. I just happen to remember, that's all.
就是碰巧记住了。
But what is Moriarty doing with one of these maps? I'm not sure, but he seems to be controlling the city from nearly every aspect. The history, the culture, and even as city representatives. I'm beginning to fear. Act5-pt nervously gulped before uttering his concerns with some trepidation. Could he be trying to rule this entire world?